Hi, everybody. My name is Sharita Robson. I am the Senior Associate Director. Excited to have you here to hear more about interviewing practices. So, if you look in the chat, just want to ask you to make sure you enter your Fordham email address, to basically add in your attendance for the workshop today. Um, we're excited to talk to you a little bit more, and definitely you can put in the chat any questions you may have in regards to the session. So I do ask if you can wait until the presentation has gone through, and then you can ask questions in there. So, kind of starting off, I'll be sharing my screen where you'll be able to see more information about the presentation. So today we're going to talk about interviewing best practices. So it's really critical to think and prepare. So what we're going to discuss is really going to give you better perspective on how to really kind of present yourself. Also putting your best foot forward in regards to employers, but also thinking about what could be a good way and strategy to get the best and most of the experience. So, the purpose of interviewing, of course, is really what employers want to know. So, they want to know, do you possess the skills and need to do the work? So, when saying that it's really important to understand experience and skills, they want to know how your resume basically connects to who you are and really expanding on that. Do you have the passion and the motivation for the work that's basically being presented? And do you fit in with the company culture? A lot of times they want to kind of assess if you're a good fit for their company. So understanding that you have the right skill set, do you have the motivation in regards to what they're looking for, that type of environment, and also the company culture. So understanding more about the fit within the team and of course the area that you would potentially interview to work in. So, interview stages usually start, on a couple of different levels. So, it could be potentially a phone screen or higher view, which is maybe a virtual session where you may pre record a session of you answering questions, or the phone screen may be asking some initial questions. First round interviews usually consist of learning a little bit more about you, your background. Second interviews may be a little bit more deeper, so it depends on the interview itself. So it could be having you meet with the team. It may be a technical interview. It could be a case review. It may be an interview that provides you with the opportunity to meet with multiple team members throughout the day. So, a lot of times that gives them a better understanding how you would fit with the team, but then also really understanding more about who you are and how you would actually fit within the environment, and then also assessing your skill sets. The decision usually is one of the last points, and there could be a potential third interview dependent on the company. Usually typical could be second interview, but as we said, every company is very different in how their process function. Usually a third interview is a good indicator that it's a positive um, insight on possibility of being considered for the role. So always good to, stay positive through the process, always making sure you follow up and understand that it's good to know what the next steps are before your decision is made with the company. So, what's important to remember is three different stages of the process. So, before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. So, before the interview, it's really important how you're thinking about your preparation. During the interview, is really being prepared to process that information and make sure that you're answering accordingly. But then, after the interview, how do I prepare to really close the deal? So, these are going to be some steps to consider. So before the interview, make sure you research the company and the organization in advance. So you want to check the website, their LinkedIn page, or Google any recent news coverage about the company. That helps them understand that you did your homework about what they're looking for, but then it also shows your interest level in what they actually do. Search for your interview on LinkedIn. So if you get their contact information, it's always great to know about their background. It opens up conversations for commonalities, but also really learning about their role within the actual organization or company that you're applying to. You want to research the market value for the role. So, making sure that when you're basically posed through these interviews, learn about a little bit more about the salaries, the research. So, you can look at the U.S. Department of Labor, so the Occupational Outlook Handbook, payscale.com to look up salaries or salary.com. And then also ask people in your network for their insights. So, these are ways that you can connect using LinkedIn and basically also connecting with alumni that can basically give you insights about their company interview process. And even friends and family that may be connected to those different areas can also provide insight. You want to make sure that you determine your career story as it relates to specific demands of the job description. So always assess what is it that you have to offer in regards to what they're looking for. So when you do that, really kind of dive into the actual job description and make sure that it has a good view of what you've done. And then start to write this information down. So your career story should be a pitch about who you are. So a lot of questions. The first one's tell us about yourself. That is really kind of focused on telling a little bit information about your accomplishments, your achievements, things that basically you've been actively involved in, and something else that really would make you unique that would stand out for the company. No, you always have to tailor your conversations to your audience. So, looking at the job description can be very helpful by looking at the skills that are required and really using that to your benefit to really talk about points that might be really connected to what an employer is looking for. So this kind of gives you an example right here. So you can look. This is a communications internship, summer 2024. As you can see, basically it shows the roles. So looking a little bit deeper into the job description really helps us learn a little bit more about what they're looking for, as they probably have looked at your application, they feel like you have the baseline of what's expected for that position. Now it's for you to convey that message and really talk a little bit more into detail. So as you can see from this role, it basically kind of highlights things that you contribute to industry grids, track and circulate all forms of press coverage daily, conduct research and support PR planning, help curate press lists, draft, copy, edit press releases and pitches for department initiatives. And we can go through, the rest of the descriptors to really kind of assess what are some of the skills that I've gained. So think about your classroom experiences, but also think about other experiences that you had that can really correlate. So maybe I was a part of a club and I was managing the PR or, the social media or basically creating content or creating photos where I was basically posting that information. So I want to really try to interrelate as much of the conversation as close as possible to that discussion. So making sure the written and verbal communication really aligns with the things that they're looking for. So when you're looking at that, you want to make sure you communicate to tell them a little bit more about how you'd be a good fit, and then basically talk about ways that you would be a good match utilizing a lot of these skills. So maybe you're detail oriented, a self starter, hard worker. So really come up with different examples of how you've applied that in the classroom setting, but also work settings, maybe a part of leadership roles inside or outside of school. So, one of the bigger things when you're doing behavioral based interviews, a lot of times employers use this as a method to answer questions. Will you be able to use this all the time? Possibly, not always. So, but this is a good starting point to answer questions. It's called the STAR method. So, the STAR method is situation, task, action, and results. So, you want to make sure that when you introduce this information, you think about a situation, um, and basically set this to the employer to set the context. So, for example, maybe the situation was they asked me a question about how did you work as a part of a team? Give us an example of a time when you had a problem. So, and how did you solve that? Now I want to start with the situation, helping them understand more about the baseline. So that maybe tell me about I'm was a part of a course, and I had to collaborate with a team of individuals. We had all different sections where we were basically required to, now we can put in the task. The task will basically talk more about the expectations and challenges it would involve. So we had to basically complete an assignment, and the assignment basically required for all of us to do a part. Now the action. Explain what you did and how you did it. So now taking this next part, we can really kind of answer the next step. Well, from that group project, all of our responsibilities were due each part, where we had to set up more details about the actual presentation that we were presenting together. So each of us had a part where we basically present more about X. So that could possibly be maybe something that you were presenting on a class topic. Now, the result should be, well, possibly this is where the end results come in, or accomplishments or rewards or impacts. So I may have faced some challenges, maybe a group member didn't pick up, and I had to basically assist or talk with them, where we were able to come together and work with a person that might have been struggling. And the result was we were able to get a great outcome from the actual presentation, and we were able to present and support each other, and we received the A in the course. So you really want to make sure you break it down in four folds to really talk towards. Can you do this always? No. There are open-ended and closed-ended questions. So just know always giving an example is something that really is beneficial. So before you interview, make sure you practice. So you want to make sure that you utilize this in a lot of different ways. So you want to explore interview prep courses such as the ones on LinkedIn Learning that you have access to. You want to prepare practice sets on Big Interview. This is one of our resources in Handshake where you can basically go into the site and basically assess different questions. It'll also give you tips on how to answer questions, but it'll also give you examples how to answer a question. And then you want to make sure you set up some time to do a mock interview at the Career Center. So you can always practice with the career counselor, to really help you kind of refine what some of those goals are that you need to achieve and how you would answer the questions. So you want to make sure that you are bringing your best self and really preparing yourself to answer appropriately based off of what the employer is looking for. So during the interview, it's really important to prepare, your attire, understand the industry and company culture. So usually looking at the website gives you a better understanding. So you always want to go a step above, what you would see. Maybe somebody working at the company wearing, or maybe on their website, it shows that they're wearing suits. So that would be something you want to do. If you see that they're business casual on their website, always go a step above. You always want to make sure that you're prepared and really understanding what that is to ensure that you're best dressed for your first impression. Not sure, always err on the side of caution and always be dressed appropriately from a professional standpoint. You can always bring copies of your resume, a notebook, a pen, so you can take notes. It's really important to have a copy if it's updated so you can offer it to the interviewer and basically allow them to see a professional handwritten copy so they have it on hand if you like to offer that. But then also having a notebook and a pen provides you the opportunity to take notes on what was discussed. So when you follow up, you're more prepared to think about what you talked about at that present moment. Two, even having printed out questions would be important, for you to remember. So, do you have questions? The answer should always be yes. So, you want to ask questions about the interviewer's experiences at the company, ask questions about the specific role if it's not listed or if it wasn't something that was already discussed. And then, of course, you want to make sure you avoid premature grabby questions. So, things that were already talked about, or asking about the vacation or the benefits. These are things you should be able to look up. or what the pay is. It's really important to understand when you're in the interview process is to do your research beforehand to know certain things that you need to know, because you want to be prepared when they ask you about these things to really kind of understand where you stand in the interview process. Two, after the interview, you want to make sure that you always ask for a business card before closing out, to follow up within 24 hours. You want to express a thank you, either through email. If you can do a handwritten note, that's always a nice touch, but usually email is a great way. You want to make sure that it gets to the top of their email box. So using it at a time where it'll be fresh at 9 o'clock. You can set these things up to basically send at a certain time. So basically it shows. So use your subject line, thank you, interview, Sharita Robson, like using my name as an example. So you want to make sure you express your appreciation, reference certain points. So that's why I say it's really important to take notes. Even after the interview, think freshly about what you discussed with them. So really, when you do write a thank you follow-up, it really gives you a clear perspective on what was discussed. And then make sure you restate the qualifications that would make you a good fit for the role. It really helps you kind of stand out a little bit more as you would as a candidate. So this is an example right here, as you can see. So, hello, Pat. Thank you for taking the time to interview me this morning. I enjoyed our conversation about the marketing manager position and appreciated learning about how the role works. The way the marketing and advertising team works together sounds ideal for reaching goals and optimizing performance. The marketing manager position sounds like a rewarding role, especially given the opportunities for leadership and advancement. I think my master's in marketing from X University, more than several years of experience leading marketing teams, would make me an excellent candidate for this position. I look forward to discussing this opportunity more, and please do not hesitate to contact me to arrange a follow up interview. Thank you, Hannah Lee. So it really does give you a refined look, and you always want to fill in the dots. This gives you a better understanding that will really kind of highlight you as a candidate, but then really looking for, how you be a good match. And basically, always you can highlight a specific point that maybe was talked about that really made you passionate about that discussion as well in the second paragraph. So that concludes our session. We want you to stay connected and follow us on social media. I would definitely please encourage you to please make sure you sign in by entering your Fordham email address. So if you look in the chat, I don't know if anybody has any questions. You can definitely ask here during the session. Be happy to answer anything, but excited to really discuss with you further by coming to our office, coming to visit us, and also follow us on Fordham Careers to basically connect on future opportunities and also attending other events and activities that we have going on.